So, first of all, thank you for coming. And in fact, my presentation is quite different as the first one we have heard. It's not the presentation of a particular case study or theory-based paper. First of all, I would like to say you something about me, because my major is not communication. So my major is strategy, so strategic management is strategy, if you like. And my background is economics and business. So I say that because maybe what I'm going to propose of this presentation maybe can shock you. Account my background, this background about economics and business, because I'm trying to introduce the importance, according to my view, the importance of communication now in the construction of a new strategic paradigm. And of course, I would like to share with you some personal ideas about that, but also at the end, I would like to present you a more collective effort in the development of this new approach, or this new strategic paradigm, which is an effort made at the Ibero-American level. So a group of scholars from different countries in the Ibero-American community have been working together in this effort for a long time, for many years. I was part of this group of people. And most of them, and in fact the initiative of this redefinition of the strategic approach have been initiated by people from the communication area. So I and others were invited to participate as people who have different backgrounds, because it's a multidisciplinary group of scholars. And at the end, the importance of communication has been underlined, and this is what I would like to show you and explain to you why. So, the two main questions, the bottom line of this presentation: why is a new perspective on strategy necessary, and why do we need a new theory of strategy? So, the starting point of this collective reflection at this Ibero-American level I mentioned to you is the recognition of the current main problems we have in society. So, and the question is, if we have the necessary and the most convenient tools to approach and to give a right answer to these new challenges we have to deal with. So, for example, globalization and the international financial crisis, a new world geopolitical order which is being constructed. I think all of us are conscious of that. Poverty and the fight for access to natural resources and energy. In other words, the problem of sustainability, which was underlined yesterday, by the way, at the plenary session. The problem of wars, terrorism, propagation of new diseases, corruption, corporate scandals, crisis of values. So these are the challenges we have right now there, and we have to give as scholars an answer to these problems. And our doubt is if we have the right approach to give a convenient answer to these new challenges we have in society. So, to understand why a new approach is being built, the starting point is the recognition of the dominant strategic approach in the field of the strategy. Of course, this is changing. Of course, this is evolving. But generally speaking, the dominant approach is like this. So, the profile of this approach has been characterized, and is still characterized, by a fragmented approach, so an analytical approach. We tend to split the reality in different pieces to be able to understand this particular and individual pieces, but of course we are losing the overall understanding of the complexity of the reality we have to manage. Another very important assumption is that people, managers, decision makers, are acting as rational actors. This has been the traditional economic approach. So we understand that people make decisions as rational actors. trying to maximize their utility function. And we know this is a simplification of the complexity of the human being. The object of our studies usually is the unit of production, losing once again the focus because nowadays organizations are working more and more in cooperation, in alliances, in networks, and this is a new and different reality. Usually the object of our research efforts is the strategic process instead of the real character of this process. It's a focus based on conflict, in zero-sum games, in competition, in wars, we could say. And of course, the most important and dominant discipline has been economics, which is my original discipline. So, economics and business. So, strategic management as the discipline has been used as the main point of reference for this kind of studies in the field of business, in my view, has important biases that we have to recognize in order to overcome and in order to improve the theoretical background and approach in order to deal with those challenges in a more convenient manner. For example, those biases have been based on economics and statistics. We have to recognize that, although, as I said, it's evolving. A static and a structural conception of a strategy, although a more dynamic approach is gaining room little by little. A conception of a strategy centered on conflict and zero-sum games, as I said before, and a technological obsession and the consequent loss of sight of the human being. So, but at the same time, as I said, this discipline is evolving, is changing in the sense of the recovery of the human factor. For example, strategic management in the last years has also demonstrated the importance of context and social structure, the importance of interaction among organizations and among people within the context of networks, clusters, etc. And above all, the complexity of behaviors in organizations, such as personal relationships, cognitive bias, emotional and affective matters, etc. This is part of our condition as human beings, and this is something we have to take into consideration when analyzing the reality and when analyzing decision-making processes in organizations. So we could say this is our starting point. But before explaining to you where we want to go, what's the new direction in this discipline related to strategy, let me share with you some personal ideas about trying to explain why we have to get there in a new position with a new approach. And in my view, this is, at least partially, the consequence of the need to place innovation at the heart of our strategic architecture, which is something connected with the previous presentation. So nowadays, innovation, as we know, is a core part of the corporate strategy and behavior, and this is critical for our competitiveness in the global world. So we have to put innovation at the heart of this strategic architecture. But innovation is not something spontaneous, as we know, something that has to be managed. And there are different models proposing how the innovation has to be managed and encouraged in organizations. But this is my personal view. So, according to my perspective, in order to manage innovation properly, we need a systemic approach in order to understand the real complexity of this phenomenon, the number of different factors at their interactions. Which is behind innovation is our ability to manage knowledge, what is known as knowledge management. And we have developed also a normative model in order to promote internal knowledge management in organizations. So I will show you, if we have enough time, a little bit about this proposal. And of course, to promote innovation in companies and organizations, connectivity is something critical. So this promotion of interactions, a more deeper connectivity among people and organizations is something essential. This is why the importance of networks and alliances has been emphasized. So, in this context, as you're going to see and try to show you, communication is gaining more and more. So, concerning the connection between systemics and innovation, I think we have to move from an analytical methodology, which is basically used to approach real problems in organizations, to a more systemic methodology in order to not to lose focus and to understand the real complexity of the different elements involved in the description and the among these. So let me skip some slides to take advantage of our time. So concerning the connection between knowledge management and innovation, we have proposed, as I mentioned to you, a normative model to promote internal knowledge management in organizations based on the different perspective under which knowledge management and innovation can be understood. For instance, I have mentioned at the very beginning the technological bias. Of course, technology is something essential to promote innovation, but technology has human implications and structural implications. So we have to deal with these three different dimensions when managing this issue: the technological one, but also the human resources management ones concerning the implications about this kind of human policies, and the structural dimension related with the climate, the world climate, the ambience of world climate, related to the particular leadership which is necessary to promote innovation within companies, the particular type of organizational design which is necessary also to promote this kind of efforts, and also the particular organizational structure which is necessary as well to promote knowledge management, knowledge sharing, and innovation within organizations. So technology is important, but there are other dimensions we shouldn't be forgetting. And finally, the connection between connectivity and innovation. To remember knowledge management, and connectivity. For instance, with regard to knowledge management, in the process of turning tacit knowledge into explicit knowledge, the communication process has been essential. So it's gaining power, it's gaining importance. It's there into explicit knowledge. And of course, concerning the importance of networks, alliances, interactions among organizations and people, communication is something also critical, because communication is based in a relational paradigm. And this is something we have to learn and we have to put into practice to improve the management of this kind of new realities concerning networks, alliances, clusters, etc. So it's not time here, of course, to go deeper in the idea of the implication of cooperation. But if we assume, and this is all of us can assume, the importance of mutual understanding, a climate of trust, transparency, to make this kind of networks of alliances work, communication is essential to do so. So once again, communication is there and coming up. And for instance, yesterday at the plenary session, one of our colleagues were about the 4 Ps, the traditional 4 Ps of marketing. Now we have to recognize that those 4 Ps have to be managed and developed into a new context. The new context that we can summarize with the 4 Cs. We are part of community. This is not a choice. This is a fact. We are part of communities, essentially online communities, and we have to manage our reputation there, and we have to make dialogue, a conversation with friends and enemies within these communities. Now, it's not we are here, I am here at the company, I manufacture my products, and I inform you about the quality, about the characteristics of my products to convince you. The point is not that. The point is we are together. It's not and you, it's we and we. We are partners because more and more products are at the result of a co-creation process. And we have examples such as Linux and many others as a result of the process of hybridization. And this means that we understand the importance of conversation and dialogue. The point is not to inform others, to inform our potential customers, and how to learn the art of dialogue and conversation. And this is why communication is gaining importance, and this is why communication is there stronger and stronger. And the final C is customization, the necessary efforts to make our products more and more personalized, more and more adapted to particular niches, particular kind of people. So this needs also a new kind of organization, a type of redesign in organizations. Also at the end of the plenary session that yesterday, something was said about that. But in order to fulfill with the time with discipline, let me finish with this personal view about what is happening right now in the real world business, and finally with the change promoted by these scholars to you. So no doubt that we are living in a very dynamic world, very changeable. So complexity is increasing. So this complexity in the business environment is coming into organization. Managing this kind of organization are becoming more and more complex. To deal with this increasing complexity, we have to manage sometimes contradictory forces, for example, contradictory interests from different stakeholders that are affecting the organizational behavior. This is what is mentioned there as a paradox, a paradoxical world, and a more diverse world, because we have to manage with diversity, cultural diversity, technological diversity. This is also part of our world of business right now. This brings a much more developed sense of balance in order to gain a certain room of satisfaction among the different stakeholders' interests, for example. And this means, in my point of view, that systemics is more and more important, to have a comprehensive understanding of what is happening and the complexity of this phenomenon, that connectivity is also essential, and we are living in a more and more compressed world in time and space. And if we are talking about the importance of connectivity, the human relational paradigm of communication is critical. And of course, concerning this intangible resource, critical intangible resource such as knowledge, innovation has to be put at the heart, at the center of our strategic architecture as was defined at the very beginning. So, the end. What's the final proposal? So, we need a redesign of this theory of strategy. There are several reasons. We have completely new problems nowadays. Society today aspires to more negotiated solutions, and each day the exceptions not covered by the theoretical assumptions that have been inherited become more frequent. So this means for us that our approach is not good enough to deal with these new challenges. And what the change is proposed? To move from fragmentation into complexity, to move from the rational actor to the relational human being, to move from a production unit to a network of innovation and meaning, to move from the process to be concentrated into the process. To the human being, we could say the homo strategicus and its ability to strategize and to understand much better how this ability is carried out by humans. To move from a science of conflict into a science of articulation, negotiation, cooperation. To move from economics into communication, or at least to include the communication paradigm into our economic thinking. And finally, we are convinced, fully convinced, that new tools and methods will gain importance in these disciplines in the years to come, such as system dynamics, nonlinear systems, networks, chaos theories, neurosciences, communications, hermeneutics, and others. We are fully convinced that the future will be based on this kind of methods. So, this is the summary. Thank you very much.